This week, we're trekking through Norway. We're starting on the western side in the city of Bergen. We're going to make our way through fjord country and end up eventually in Oslo.
And why are you why do you have an umbrella?
Because it's raining all the time.
Bergen is Norway's second city after Oslo. It's on the west coast of the country, it rains all the time, and it's a perfect place to start or end your trek across Norway. The city is pretty compact, and you'll probably spend most of your time around its cute little harbor and its collection of preserved wooden buildings that were once part of the Hanseatic Trading League almost 1,000 years ago. Bergen is a great introduction to Norway. Its main site is Bergen, which was an old German trading post which was part of the Hanseatic League. Norway has a reputation for being expensive, and even with a stronger dollar, that's mostly true. 2 beers in a quaint setting in Bergen, that'll run you about $25. But there are a few simple things you can do to keep costs down. For starters, Norway is not known as a culinary destination. Don't go seeking out a hotspot for lunch. Instead, look for the local sausage shack. What do you got there?
A Norwegian hot dog. We just got to Bergen, and I am happy. We just got coffee and hot dogs.
And what is that hot dog made of?
This is a reindeer hot dog with a cranberry...
I think it's lingonberry.
Lingonberry, some kind of red sauce on top. And then the other sausage we had was a smoked bratwurst with caraway seeds and some kind of herb sauce.
An even better way to save money is to avoid high-priced hotels and find a good Airbnb. Nikki found us a great studio apartment just up the hill behind the harbor. It even had a cute little balcony that looked over the city. On our second morning, we woke up to this. That's cannon fire. Unbeknownst to us, the second day we were there, May 17th, is a national holiday, Constitution Day. After the 7 a.m. cannon wake-up call, each neighborhood puts on a children's parade like this one. And throughout the day, you'll see many people wearing traditional Norwegian folk costume. By the middle of the day, there's one giant parade that snakes its way along the harbor. At 11 p.m., when the sun finally set, there were fireworks, which were conveniently viewable from our apartment. Bergen is a cute little city, and it's a good introduction to Norway, but you don't need a lot of time here. We spent just 2 nights. Bergen is best used as a jumping-off point to the rest of your Norwegian adventure. From here, high-speed ferries will get you deep into the fjords in just a couple hours. This is Sognefjord. It's one of the biggest and most beautiful of all the fjords in Norway. It's also the most accessible. For our first home base, we chose the tiny little town of Balestrand. In addition to its beautiful setting, the town has good boat connections, lots of outdoor activities, and a grand old 19th century hotel called the Kviknes. Our room was in the front of the hotel, and there was no better way to end a day of hiking than with some chips, a beer, and this view. When we were here in May, there was about 19 hours of sunlight every day, which is great because it gave you lots of time to enjoy the incredible scenery. The snow on the mountains makes it look cold, but on the ground it was about 60 degrees, and in the sun it was really comfortable. On our first day after arrival, we took a bike ride around some of the smaller fjords that are connected to Sognefjord.
Today we are doing a 3-fjord bike ride. We are currently stopped in the interior part of the first fjord, and Balestrand, where we're staying, is about 15-20 minutes down that way. And we have 2 more fjords to explore. So let's go!
There are no bike lanes around the fjord, but traffic is very light, and the place we rented the bikes had these uber cool reflective vests and helmets.
Today we took a ferry from Balestrand to Vik, to hike into the valley to explore the stave church called Hopperstad.
The little town of Vik is a short 20-minute boat ride from Balestrand, and nestled in its scenic valley, you'll find one of Norway's best examples of a stave church. Stave churches were mostly built in medieval time by descendants of Vikings who had converted to Christianity. The people who constructed these used the same techniques they did when they built ships. From the inside, the stave church looks like an upside-down boat, and on the outside, you'll see decorations more befitting of a Viking ship than a church.
Biking and stave churches in Balestrand are fun, but we think the best activity here in Balestrand is hiking. And if you come outside of the couple summer months, probably outside of July and August, expect some snow. The first part of the trail is wooded and steep. Then once you get up probably like 350 meters up, the snow starts, and it's mid-May.
So this is hiking in May above Balestrand. What's the name of the peak we're at?
Barassi, which is 575 meters up.
And there is enough snow that the picnic tables are completely covered. Luckily there was a log down which we were able to eat lunch on. And this is overlooking the Sognefjord. Absolutely beautiful day. There's a lot of snow, but it is pretty warm. I only have one shirt on and I am very comfortable. And it's sunny too. But there is a lot more snow up here than we thought. And luckily, there are some communal snowshoes that we were able to borrow to hike up to the top. There's the sign that's usually about as tall as a person, and it's kind of dug out there. There's a couple picnic tables around there. Not so much today, but beautiful day at the top of the mountain. The rest of this hike actually goes up there. We chose not to do that today. Instead, we stayed here, ate lunch, and took a lot of selfies. Isn't that right, Nikki? So if you come to Balestrand, hike up to Barassi. Our next stop, about an hour and a half down Sognefjord that way, is the little town of Flam. Flam is mostly a transportation hub because it's one of the few towns where the train meets the fjord. Occasionally, you'll see a full-size cruise ship parked right in its little harbor. If you do find yourself in Flam for a night or two, I would suggest the Flam campground, which has these delightful little cabins underneath incredible waterfalls. The fjords around Flam are narrower and more dramatic than those around Balestrand. And the most impressive fjord of all the smaller ones around here is Norway Fjord. It's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and from Flam you can take a fjord safari ride which lasts 1 hour and goes all the way to the end of the fjord. In some areas, it's 1,000 meters from the bottom of the sea up to the top of these fjords. The fjord safari was conducted in one of these zodiacs, and being in one of these little boats, you truly realized how huge the fjords are.
After 4 days in the fjords, we're going to depart Flam and head to Oslo tomorrow morning. We're going to take the Flambana train, which departs Flam and heads up to Myrdal, which is over 800 meters up the mountain, past some waterfalls, and then we're going to connect to a high-speed train and head over to Oslo.
The Flambana train travels just 12 miles, but climbs nearly 3,000 feet through the rain-soaked Flam Valley and a series of 20 different tunnels. It also makes a stop at a waterfall.
We're in on the Flambana train, stopping for a waterfall break.
In Myrdal, there was a lot of snow, and the train that was supposed to take us to Oslo was delayed for almost 2 hours because of a landslide. Eventually, we made it to Oslo, Norway's capital. Like Bergen, Oslo is on the water, and the town seems centered around its harbor. There are a lot of great hotels in Oslo, many with great views of the harbor. However, they're really expensive, so again we chose an Airbnb, this time in one of the up-and-coming trendy districts of Oslo.
We're staying in Grünerløkka. It's like the trendy, what do you want me to say?
We both really liked Grünerløkka. It's filled with coffee shops, hipster beards, ironic t-shirts, and it's teeming with personality. It's also just a short tram ride away from the harbor.
We are in Oslo, the last leg of our Norwegian tour. Behind me is City Hall, and I'm standing here in the harbor, which is the tourist epicenter, and behind me is where a bunch of ferries take off. We're about to take a ferry to Bygdøy, which has a bunch of different museums on it.
Bygdøy is about a 10-minute ferry ride from Oslo's main harbor. It has several great museums, including a maritime museum, a Viking ship museum, and our personal favorite, the Folk Museum.
We are at the Folk Museum on the island of Bygdøy. The Folk Museum has a collection of about 150 different farmhouses, churches, buildings that they brought here from around Norway and reassembled.
There are a lot of folk museums in Europe, but this was one of the best we've seen. It had its own little stave church, lots of interesting little farmsteads to walk through, and even a small collection of animals.
I'll consult Mickey on this. What type of cows are these?
They look like Ayrshires.
We've got 2 little cows and a bigger one on ye old traditional grass roof farm of Norway. And we've also got a couple ducks over here who I think are fairly used to being fed, as they appear to be not afraid of humans at all. Hello, ducks.
If you're looking for a more traditional museum, check out Oslo's National Gallery, which has a great collection of landscapes and Norway's most famous painting. And with that scream, our trip in Norway is finished.